it is a way to achieve immortality, the Dalai Lama once said. And rightly so, as only by sharing thoughts and ideas we can discover new things together. Hi, we are Amit and Daniëlle, founders of heygroentje.nl. Through heygroentje, our mission is to introduce people to the amazing vegan Indian cuisine and to discuss topics we find interesting with a wider audience. Today's topic is debunking sustainability. We aim to answer questions regarding sustainability. We really like to talk about it in our day-to-day lives, and today is the opportunity when we really have conversations regarding it. So some questions that come to my mind which we want to answer is what sustainability is in our eyes. For example, what we were taught about it when we were young and what we think about it now. Then we talk about how do we practice it in our daily lives. We talk about the concept of greenwashing. We talk about Earth Overshoot that we come to in the end and what is it exactly. And we discuss about that in detail. And then we discuss some points from our perspectives on how to really become more sustainable in your daily lives and really actions that have a real impact. So with that, I would like to welcome Daniëlle again. I think we are both excited for this topic, or not?
Yeah, we are.
Yeah, this is one of the topics where we both are still learning a lot about.
Yeah, and sustainability is a really wide topic.
Yeah.
There are like a lot of aspects in it, so it's nice to have this conversation today.
Yeah. What is it in your eyes? What does sustainability mean? In Dutch, it's called duurzaamheid. Growing up, I'm curious what that meant for you. Like, what were you taught about it in school? And how did your perception change over time about it? Like, can you elaborate on that?
I think when I was young, people didn't really talk about sustainability. I think not at all. Maybe I'm wrong, but when I look back to my childhood, I cannot really remember that there were conversations in my school or in my family about sustainability. The only thing I remember is that in my house, in my family, they really learned me to not shower too long, put the lights off when you're done, more those small things. And like if you're brushing your teeth, don't let the water running, just close it. But now I'm thinking, was that really to save water, or was it more for the water bill? Like, I don't really know why they taught me that. Was it because of like sustainability, or was it more, if you're using too much water and too much light, the water and energy bill will go up. So I don't really know that. But I did not really learn anything about sustainability when I was young.
Okay, and over the years, like, did you pick up things? Like, of course, in this episode we further talk about like how do you see it now and what you have learned, like along the way. Like, it has been a long way, from your childhood. So you have gathered more information and your own understanding about it. I think when I grew a bit older, I still didn't really learn a lot about it. I think especially the last few years I got to know more about it, and I really think from the moment I started to or I stopped eating meat, from that moment I also got to know more about sustainability. So before that I wasn't busy with it at all. But when I stopped eating meat and later went completely plant-based, I really saw the connection between food and sustainability.
So I think the last 5 years I got to know more about it, and yeah. How was that for you? Because I'm curious.
Yeah,
when
pretty
you were
similar.
young.
I think the story would also not be very different for people born in the 90s, I would say, because we both are from the 90s. Small things I remember were taught to us in school. Pretty similar. Turn off the lights when not in use. You should, don't let the water running.
But did they learn you that in school or at home?
In school, not at home.
I never got those tips at my school.
Yeah, at school I remember, because at home people were still doing that, and I still remember. I was always sometimes a bit angry also. Like my grandmother still, she uses a lot of water, and I got really annoyed at her, like still nowadays, when she uses a lot of water and she keeps it running all the time.
Yeah, she really likes
she
water.
She uses water to wash like a lot of things, and I see it as waste. But at that, like I remember in my childhood, she said, this is not going to make a difference. And I thought, you have not been to school, it's easier for you to say, like you have not learned what is sustainable development and all. And now when I grew up, I understand that her way of doing things is way more sustainable than anyone I know in my life, and that has been supported also by research and data.
Even like if you would look at if she's busy, you think, oh, she's using so much water.
Yeah.
But if you compare that to a lot of other people,
right,
she is doing it the best.
Yeah. Especially compared, I would say, like it has changed, of course, like since she moved in with us, like around, I think after around 50, she came to live with us. Well, before she was living in a rural village in India, and the way most of her life she has led, I think, can be termed as really basic, very basic needs. There was hardly any electricity, so you can already imagine how much you save on that. Of course, a lot of people would say then you have the debate regarding having like your basic life needs met, but she was completely happy with that. And most people, like who are born and brought up in that way, she didn't have a washing machine, for example, almost all her life. No machines, like clothes were not brought from a...
also not.
Yeah, clothes were not being bought like at a big brand, for example. Most of the times they were being stitched at home themselves. So these are just few examples, and my perception changed, and especially when at the age of 21 I came to Netherlands, and at my university where they were really busy with sustainability and food, for example, and there were a lot of talks about feeding 8 billion people. Like it's predicted we might even cross like the 10 billion mark at the end of this century. And a lot of people are concerned, like how we are going to feed all these people. And what people forget in that process is that it's not about not having enough food. It's about where the food is going and what we do with the food.
I think we discussed this once before. That if you see the whole food system, is that we are growing so many grains, for example, and they are for feeding the animals.
Right.
But what if we don't? What if the animals are going out of that system and we feed the grains directly to people? Majority. It's a really inefficient way to consume, actually, and it's really detrimental for your health, for the environment, of course. It's really bad, because your first majority of the food especially in the US, but also a lot of developed countries, even in India to some extent, is produced to feed cattle
and then we take out like our needs from cattle. Like in India it happens less for consumption, of course. There are still a lot of myths regarding that, and I want to maybe discuss it on a topic. The use of cattle and its impact in different countries. But in the US, let's take that example, because all these documentaries that we watched are based from there, and all the data comes from there, and that is also big way. Like it shows like how consumption looks like in a developed world. Like it's a good example of that. So you see, then we are drinking milk. We are using dairy products from the cows, and we are mostly people are then also killing them for meat.
Yeah,
it's really inefficient, and then they are the same people who complain about world hunger, for example, and the problems that we are facing.
Yeah, because there is really a link there, and still we don't know if we get the animals out of the system and we're only using the grains to feed humans. You still don't know if it comes to the right people. But there is a bigger chance, because we have so much more grains to feed so many more people.
Right, and that
there would not be a world hunger, I think. And also people forget about the resources that it takes, like all the resources. So grains is one part, that's like all the food, and then there's water, and then there's like waste that is generated that is impacting the climate, like the methane that is being released by all these cattle. There's the water consumption. Like when we were small, you remember both of us have the experience with the tap water. Like we were saving a little bit of water, but majority of drinking water in the US is used to feed cattle. Yeah, and not only that, it's not only to feed the cattle, but it's also for producing meat.
Yeah.
Because to give one really clear example for people, if you're just eating one hamburger, you're using around 2,500 liters of water. And then we are sometimes, like you were complaining about your grandma using water to wash their clothes.
Yeah, that's nothing in comparison.
That is nothing in comparison.
Leaving the tap water on for hours at a go, like a whole day, and the whole streets around us filled with water.
And just for one hamburger.
Right, yeah. And the same goes for a lot of things that we consume. Of course, we are focused a lot on food. Yeah. And there's also a reason for that, because that's the single biggest emitter, like the way we produce our food. That's, if that changes, a lot of things will already become better. We'll already become a lot more sustainable, and that has been proved time and again. Because there was in I think a few years back a research at University of Oxford, one of the best universities in the world, and their researchers, they said cutting meat and dairy from your diet can reduce an individual, so we talk about individuals, their carbon footprint from food by up to 73%. That is like 3/4 that is like 3/4 of what we do in our daily lives can be impacted by what we choose to put on our plates. And as individuals, I find it's a moral responsibility to think about that, to at least cut down on meat and dairy if you cannot completely give it up, because there's so much research and it's proven that on the individual level it's the single biggest way to reduce your environmental impact on Earth. Yeah,
it's also an easy way for people, if you're talking about sustainability, if you want to change something, the easiest way to start is by looking what's on your plate.
Yeah, that's right. There are also other important ways, of course. We are so passionate about like food and that's also our work, and that's how we try to practice it in our daily lives. By letting people know that there's so much available in terms of plant-based options, especially in the Indian cuisine, which we find the best suited to plant-based eating, with all the vegetables and grains and lentils and nuts and spices to to really make them irresistible. You don't really have to turn nowadays to meat and dairy.
No.
If you have all these options.
Yeah, and the options you're saying, they also need water for production.
Yeah.
But if you really look at it, it's so much less. It's so like... Yeah, it's not that much in compare with animal products.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's enough research available. Like in the documentaries, like the Cowspiracy that we saw, like that the animal agriculture is like is a bigger emitter than the transportation sector combined. There is all the cars, planes, ships, everything you can imagine that is around, like what they emit is being, and that is also understandable, because if you look not from a research perspective, because that has been proven, but if you just look, if you think about the scale, because if we are with 7 billion people, we just cannot imagining by the end of this century, like maybe we are then at 10 billion, that all of us would be having like meat and dairy at the scale that we have, without really, and then forget about the health impact, because that's a topic for another time. That's really big. But think about the environmental impact of that. It's just not sustainable. It's beyond belief how someone can think we can produce it without destroying the planet. In fact, it's happening currently. I think we'll not have. We'll not see Earth the way we have seen it now, like in the coming years, if we continue at this rate.
And if you, Amit just mentioned Cowspiracy. If you didn't watch it, you really should watch it, because it really explains a lot more about sustainability also. Right.
Yeah, and also the recent one, like I think it was from the same production about the Seaspiracy.
Yeah, Seaspiracy also.
Also really, and because that's something that we don't even talk about, because that's all underwater. What's happening, but there's a whole marine ecosystem that is being destroyed in front of our eyes, and we don't want to do anything about it. It seems like, as humans, like in general.
Yeah, and I think that is because we don't really see it, because it's happening underwater. It feels like it feels really far away, because you cannot see it. But it's really both of them, Cowspiracy, Seaspiracy. Yeah, everyone should watch it. Yeah,
that's right. Yeah, I think to the topic of how we practice sustainability in our daily lives, I think we will have shades of it. We discuss it like throughout this podcast. But I am really keen to discuss the topic of greenwashing. Like, I'm curious if you know what it is.
I'm not knowing that much about it. You told me about it today. You asked me before this conversation, do you know what it is? And I said, not really. So you really...
Do you know brainwashing, for example? Brainwashing, like where people are...
putting things in your head, so you start believing in that? Yeah.
Greenwashing is pretty similar. Like, it's about putting sustainability myths in your head which do not exist to promote people's own gains.
Do you have an example?
I think I'll also name some companies. Like you have companies like Shell in Netherlands. You have ExxonMobil. They talk about reducing greenhouse consumptions on paper if you look at their websites. While on the contrary, they are doing the opposite. They are increasing them, like by their activities around the world, by drilling oil and having all this network like around, and it's more and more people recognize that the activities the big oil companies are doing are really bad for the planet, and it's really sad that they try to show that they are more sustainable than they are. And there's nothing wrong in moving in that direction and talking about it, but it's to a point where they want to benefit from it because they know that it's a hot topic, sustainability. And they're not the only companies. You look at like the number one restaurant slash fast food chain in the world, McDonald's. Like they talk about going net zero. That is that is plain greenwashing, because they are far away from it, and they let it sound like how sustainable they are in ways that don't really matter. It's just a way like turning off your tap when we were young to save water. The little bit water that you save, not even a liter, is nothing in comparison to what it takes to produce the food that they sell throughout the world. There's even a study like McDonald's. If they want to go to net zero, they have to change the whole menu. They have to get rid of the meat.
Oh.
If they don't do that, they cannot reach it.
So it's kind of, if I understand it good, like those companies you're naming now, they kind of want to show how green they are and how busy they are
so
with
that
it.
they can continue to sell their products by letting people believe what they are doing like is not bad. And they forget that the problem lies in the system. They don't see that, like the systems like that they have created and the business. The problem is the business. And unless they change the business like in a very drastic manner, they cannot claim, or there is no way they can reach net zero consumption, net zero emissions.
So you're saying that these kind of companies, they cannot be sustainable if they keep doing what they are doing now.
Right. Yeah. And it has to change at a rapid pace. It doesn't. They should not like try to convince people that we are doing it like slowly, because we don't have the time and of course like there's also the role of government and people, of course, as individuals, because our focus is a lot on this topic on individuals, what we can do as to become sustainable, but we forget the power we have as people to influence. And of course like it's said like with one drop you can fill one drop by a drop you can fill an ocean, like if there are enough drops. If there are enough people that inspires a movement, and that is enough, and people change, like companies change, because in the end they want to make money. And we see that like with the rise of plant-based alternatives, plant-based milk. Like I remember walking into a Lidl in Germany, and there I saw
so many
in the supermarket I saw that there was more plant-based milk options than real milk options.
I remember when we saw that, we felt really happy to see that.
So that has to happen at a rapid pace. Unless otherwise it's really difficult to meet your whatever goals that you set for yourselves. One more example, like Coca-Cola, like from eating to drinking, like from one of the biggest fast food chains to one of the biggest drinking like beverages company in the world. They also say that sustainability is their main focus, but it's far away from truth. The amount of cans that they are using, the amount of trucks that they are using, the heavy emitters which are going around in all around the world to bring their cans around to people, to restaurants. It's not sustainable. We don't drink it, of course, and the world would be a much better place, I say, if we were better off without Coca-Cola and McDonald's than not. But we don't live in an ideal world, and there are people who are addicted to these things.
But do you think that people should boycott them?
In their current way, yes. I think they have a bigger role to play, and it's a bit difficult, like, because if I would have my way, I would not want these companies to exist with what they're doing now.
We also we I think it's a long time back we went to McDonald's ourselves, and we're also not drinking Coca-Cola, so for us we just don't want it for our health. But like, for example, McDonald's, I think Burger King maybe does better, but I'm not exactly knowing. But I know that they are more busy with getting plant-based burgers and things.
Yeah. That's already a good step in the right direction, of course. On the health perspective, we would still disagree with a lot of things, like just with eating out, like at these fast food, because it still remains fast food.
But just for sustainability, it's good that they are doing that.
Yeah, so those are really small, tiny steps, which, they really have to accelerate their efforts.
I always find it difficult because for if a new plant-based burger comes, like for example at McDonald's, I don't want it for my health still, but I hope that a lot of vegan people are going to eat it.
Yeah, you root for it, of course, because that means for every plant-based burger there is one less hamburger. Like
not only that, but also that those companies are seeing that there is demand, and they start changing more and more and more. Right. So in that way, I also find it important that we start eating those plant-based burgers, because then those companies see that they can also earn money that way. Yeah. And slowly, I hope they start changing. Yeah. Because I know that they will not just stop. Yeah. Like those companies will not stop with what they are doing.
Yeah, and I think COVID couldn't have made it more clear in people's mind that business as usual is not the way to go. Unfortunately, it's still happening in many companies, and these corporates, they are driven by profits. I have myself worked in corporate companies, and I have experienced that, although it was for a really short time, and it was something that was not matching at all with my principles, and people have to realize that as well. Like, what are they really contributing to? Whether you are working for the company, whether you're supporting it by doing something. Like, one more big thing are the clothes that we wear. Where do we buy it from? Like, every purchase that we do, I would say, like, you should look at your energy consumption. You should look at where that product comes from, where it is produced. You should dig deep into that, because you talked about the hamburger and the liters of water. It's pretty similar, and maybe even more, to produce just a t-shirt.
Yeah, and to give another tip there, we watched the documentary The True Cost. Yeah. It's a really good one also. Yeah. So also that, if you're listening and you don't know the documentary The True Cost, watch it.
Yeah, and I think after watching that documentary and after getting to know about energy consumption, and after, like, I wrote my thesis on the leather that is produced in India, and the conclusion, I would say, I'll not tell about the thesis, like it was about if we can produce leather sustainability, the answer is no. And there is no sustainable leather. Like, leather is not sustainable, full stop. It's same with that also involves exploitation of animals, of course, and a lot of chemicals, and that are affecting like people's lives. But it's the same with the clothing industries, and I visited factories in India where like big brands like Adidas, Nikes are producing their shoes, and there's child labor involved, and there's and big brands like H&M and Zara, they are producing their clothes there, and they are surviving on the basis of greenwashing, because they don't let the truth come out about what's going on behind the scenes, and how much water is being consumed to produce all that. All they care about is selling more and more and more to swell up their profits.
Yeah, and some time back I watched, it was a program on the Dutch television, but it was about all the clothes. Where is it going? Yeah. Because if I talk about Netherlands, people, they buy a lot of clothes. Yeah. But they also, because in the documentary they were saying that the clothes are not that good anymore, because we produce so much. It has to be cheap, it has to be fast. Yeah. So the clothes, the material is not good. So that also means that, we are not using it for a long time.
No.
And they were showing in the documentary or in the TV program that it goes to countries in the north of Africa.
Yeah, also back to Asia again.
Yeah, and that all is going there for those people there to sell it again.
Yeah.
For like a second-hand market.
Yeah.
And they were showing their, I don't know, I think countries like Ghana, but I'm not exactly sure, that they were like, people were getting our clothes there, and they were seeing like, okay, which one I can still sell, which one I cannot sell. And even people there were saying the quality is getting less and less, because all the clothes we are getting here, a lot of it we cannot use anymore.
Yeah. And
where is it ending up? Because those countries, they don't have another country they can send it to. It's just the end of the clothes. Yeah. And it's just laying on the beaches, in rivers, and it was really bad to see.
It's pretty evident, right? Like we are just producing way more than we need.
Yeah.
And I realized it a long time back. It has been months, if not years, that I've been to been shopping.
Yeah.
And I really don't buy anything, and one should really focus on that if you don't really need it. I still remember like when we went like on our interrail trip, we chose to go by train, of course. Again, it's
also
it's the best. It's the most sustainable way to do that.
Yeah.
We had a car for some time. We sold it as well, and I don't think in the near future, unless there is like really sustainable car, and if I think. For now, we are not going to buy a car.
We don't need it at the moment. So
we don't need it. Yeah, we are more than happy with traveling with public transport around.
Yeah.
But I more want to say is that, I went to a second-hand shop.
Yeah.
And I bought a shirt for maybe €1, I think, 1 or 2.
Yeah, I think you bought 3 shirts.
Yeah, and that I wore almost all my for the 2 months.
Yeah.
And I want to do more of that. Of course, like we are also not perfect. We also have things that we have bought in the past that reminds us of, did we really need this stuff? And we also got rid of a lot of stuff. We sold it secondhand. We used the Vinted app, I remember. We sold a lot of stuff, and a lot we also brought back to the secondhand shops.
Yeah, and it's also okay if you feel like you want to do some shopping sometimes, that you want to change your clothes a bit. It's okay.
Yeah.
But it's really important to see where you get your clothes from. And I was really happy that when we went to the second-hand shop, you really were liking it to see the clothes there.
Yeah, they were nice fitting. Like nothing was wrong with it. The only thing is that someone has worn it before. You just wash it, and if it fits you and if it's looking nice on you, it's just they're just clothes in the end. And plus, I also believe that people have to watch the amount of clothes that they wear, because. I remember we at one point when we got rid of our house, we realized how much clothes we had.
Yeah.
Luckily, we could sell a lot of them through a platform.
Yeah.
We could bring it to a second-hand shop.
Yeah.
But we don't want to repeat the same mistakes again. So our rule is that if all our clothes, for one person, fits in a medium-sized suitcase, a travel suitcase.
Yeah.
You don't need more than that, because in that, on one side you have winter clothes, and then you have summer and spring
because
collection.
Sometimes we're thinking, we can do more away, but
we keep also, that because that keeps us from buying more.
Yeah.
We know that we have a suitcase with all our clothes, and that's all we need. But there are many people, I think many people who would who's, and I'm also then talking about our shoes, also with the shoes. I think with your shoes collection that you have, and your clothes should fit in one suitcase for one person, full stop. I think that's possible. And anyway, people are wearing a really small portion of their wardrobe. If they look on the daily basis, everyone has their favorite shirt, everyone has their favorite few, and it just goes around just around those.
Yeah, and the nice thing about it, what we are doing, is that we are having then 1 suitcase a person.
Yeah.
And we are taking some clothes out that we are needing for that moment. For example, we are going soon on an in-trail trip again through Europe with a train. And we are knowing, okay, for those 2 months we need these many clothes.
Yeah.
So we are getting it out of the suitcase. But the nice thing is, when you come back to your suitcase again later, it's kind of shopping again.
Right, yeah.
Because you see new clothes again that, I didn't wear it for like
a long time.
5 months. So, let's try it on again.
Yeah.
It's something nice, just shopping in your own clothes.
Yeah. And my next goal is like of course, if something breaks down, like if a piece is not good anymore, to first fix it. Like if possible, and if not
possible,
if not, then of course you have to do it away or bring it somewhere, unfortunately, but then I want to replace it with something that I buy at a second-hand shop. Like I think like I will never buy something new again. Like it's really it's not sustainable. Like, of course, I'm saying I will try because, I know maybe somewhere down the line I make the mistake as well. But we both are not really shopping goers.
No.
Like, for anything. Like, we always think, like, do we really need that? Like, our phones are second-hand, for example. Like, we bought them also second-hand. And unless they really, really break down, we would not fix them. Also something that you think about, and I saw a documentary about it, and after that for sure I was really taken aback with the kind of things, the metals that are used in phone. It's really sad, like where it comes from. So people really should think about every little purchase that they make.
And something nice to also talk about today is then we are kind of talking now about it, like, we are not eating meat anymore, we are not using any other animal products, we are trying to shop our clothes second-hand, we try to not buy that many things, we are traveling by train, we don't have a car. But still, I did a calculation. In the Netherlands, we have a website where you can calculate how many earths you are using as a person.
Which website is it for users, if maybe they want to see for themselves?
It's a Dutch website, but maybe we can also see something in English. But the Dutch website is from the WWF, van het Wereld Natuurfonds. We will also write it down in our blog. And I did a calculation. It was a bit difficult to do the calculation now because they kind of assume that you're having a house and that you're having some things. We are not having a house at the moment.
No.
But I did a calculation when we were still having a house, because 1 year back we were still having our house.
You calculated it according to that.
So I was calculating it for when we were living there. And even for people like us who we're doing our best. We were using 1.6 earth.
That is more than 1.5 times like the resources that we have.
So I was a bit in shock with that, because I was thinking we recycle. We are not eating animal products, no driving. Not buying a lot of new stuff.
We hardly buy stuff unless we really, really need it.
So I'm feeling like I'm doing really good. But still I'm using more than I should do. Now maybe it's different because we don't have the house anymore, but we cannot calculate it.
You already started a discussion about the Earth overshoot. And that is overshooting because if you're at 1, that means maybe it's nice to also explain the concept of it. So Earth's overshoot is like the amount of Earths that you would end up using if you were living in a certain way. How many Earths we need if, for example, again, I always take the US example, if everyone lives the way US residents are living, you see US would need, the number of Earths they would need is 5. So the amount of resources they're using are for 5 Earths because of their lifestyle choices, and that's pretty much the Western average, I would say.
The whole do you mean then the country or
the country?
Yeah, if everyone lives a particular way, then the whole US together needs 5 Earths.
Yeah, in Australia it's 4.5 again, like Russia 3.4, Germany 3 Earths.
Netherlands also 3, I thought.
It's 3.6.
Oh, 3.6.
Netherlands is even more.
Yeah.
Everyone would need 3.6 Earths, like because of the choices.
Yeah, because there are people like us, we are using 1.6, but for sure also people in the Netherlands, they are needing maybe 4 or 5 Earths, so together it's then 3.3.
Yeah, and China, for example, is 2.4, India is 0.8 currently, like it's under 1 even. A lot also has to do with a lot of people still don't have their basic needs there.
Yeah.
And that's maybe also a topic for another time, because a lot of times when talking about sustainability, there's a lot of blame being put on emerging economies like India and China, that how bad they are doing, which is not really right, because you cannot point a finger to someone when you yourself, if you see your numbers that like you, it's really shameful.
Yeah.
To say the least. Afghanistan is 0.4. It's less than half.
0.4.
Yeah.
Wow.
Angola 0.5. Like you see these countries, they're consuming almost nothing, and people like maybe think those people don't have a lot, and that's the reason. And a lot of times they're also and don't forget like all the production that is happening for the Western world in these countries. I talked about the shoes and the clothes that are being made in India, the leather products that are being made, leather bags.
To get it clear, even India, for example, they are producing so many things for the Western world, still they are under 1 Earth.
Yeah, the 0 point on an individual basis with what they use. I still don't know if it's because of course those things are being produced for people outside in the Western world, but I think the ecological consequences these countries have to they have to live with the consequences of producing it, like in terms of the rivers that are being is getting dirty because of that. And a lot of companies, they turn a blind eye to the production, like what is happening, the human rights violations that are happening. For example, I know like there was like a factory collapse in Bangladesh a few years back where many people died, and there were enough warnings sent by. There were people who were afraid to go to work because they knew that the building is going to collapse, but they had to go to work because they had to buy food for the day. Yeah. And they were writing to all these companies that we produce so many goods for you, we need funds to repair the building, we need a new building, but because they didn't have funds for it.
Do you remember that once on Facebook we had a discussion with a man? We don't name anything or anyone, but we once had a discussion with someone who said that that countries like India, or for example, they have to change. But he was not understanding that those people, like who are going to those factories, they need to do that to have food on the table.
To survive, right?
So we were saying it has to change. For example, in Netherlands. Like we are buying those clothes and we want it cheap. And because of that, those companies are going to countries like India to produce it there for a cheap price. They are not looking after their employees. So you cannot blame the people in India who they don't even have their basic needs.
Right.
You cannot blame them for what's happening. You really have to look, for example, in Netherlands. If I'm explaining it good, there was a bit of the discussion we were having with him.
It was, and that shows also the kind of misinformation that goes around, and the kind of preconceived notions that people are having about certain countries or ways, and without looking at their own consumption patterns and what's good for them and what not, and what's good for the environment. And there are a lot of selfish actions that are being taken by some groups of people, and a lot of blame games, of course, without looking at the facts. So I would say, look at the research, just with the food. And I told about the Oxford University research, like your consumption, you can 3/4 of it is by, you can cut it down by eating plant-based or going towards more plant-based. The same goes with buying anything, just the whole concept of the consumer economy, and really buying stuff that you really need. Question yourself like multiple times if you really need that stuff, if you need it new, if you can maybe buy it second hand. A lot of times it's possible. These are things that people have to focus on, I think. If you want, if our listeners, they want to see like more about this, they can log into Overshoot Day, overshootday.org, and there you have a lot of information, like how many Earths or countries do we need, for example. It's the most eye-opening information there. I really like the discussion, and I hope a lot of people did as well, and they can really get an insight into how it's a process again. The same as veganism, it's a process of figuring out what is the right thing to do, because it's different for everyone, and everyone is at a different pace. We as a society need to accelerate it, because then otherwise we will have no resources left. Our planet is already on the verge of collapse. It's important that we take action. So I think it's nice to sum it up by maybe summarizing a few things from our talk. What did you get from our talk? Did you learn something new today, or?
I learned about the greenwashing. I heard the word before, the term greenwashing, but I never really looked into it. So I really like to get to know more about that. And I also liked our talk about how we learn things as a kid. That is quite similar, the way we grew up, and that that way you can also see that the last 5 years, maybe 10 years, we started to talk more about sustainability. And we talked about food, we talked about clothes, and in that way you can also see there are so many things in which way you can change a little bit to be more sustainable. That's correct. And it's really important, in my opinion, to focus on the little things, like in the Western world. Of course, you cannot really go to the nomadic basic life in one instance, but doing small things like biking to work, eating less or no meat and dairy, making judicious use of heating at home, for example, consuming less of just less material stuff, one can imagine, moving away from non-renewables, like these things really come to my mind. Like every little things count for sure, but tackle them by looking at your biggest consumption that you have in your daily lives, and try to make a little difference in that every day. And that will really help. And we would also if you have something to add, if you have another tip or advice what you're maybe doing at home to be more sustainable, let us also know. We like to go also into discussion with our listeners, And even we are still learning, so we would like to...
So just do your own research. There's enough available on the internet. Talk about with family and friends. That really helps to really at least get the word out, so that people are self-aware of how they are doing things, what they are doing, like the choices that they are making. And remember, the planet has everything for our needs, but not for our greeds. And that's the quote by Mahatma Gandhi that I would like to end our conversation with. You were listening to another episode of Season 1 of the heygroentje podcast. Send us any questions, comments that you have through social media. Write down a comment below, or just send us a mail. We'll be back with another episode, with another topic where we have an interesting conversation about. Wish you a nice day ahead, and see you next time.